I'm going to be starting a short series on a ring knife build, and this is going to be for a fellow named Dillon who has been talking to me for about the last year. He's been interested in one of my ring knives, so what he's chosen is a Series 2 ring knife, and this is like the one I made for Wally, for his brother. And he's chosen CPM 154 for the steel, which it's an excellent choice for any knife. But when we got to talking about handles, he first asked me about if handle material was available in what he called Air Force Blue. And guys, I'm not really sure what that color is. I looked online at a few Air Force emblems and things like that, and this stuff here is close to Air Force Blue, but this is Blue G10. Never found micarta in a blue color of any kind. But the thing about the G10 is, of course, this is liner material. It's about 45 thousandths thick. And sometimes this is available in 1/4-inch slabs that I can actually make handle scales out of. Sometimes it's available. Right now, from where I get my G10, it is not available. But I did have this on hand. So I suggested this for the liner, and maybe he go with another color of either micarta or G10 for his actual slab. And when he wanted to know what the blue liner would look like on a knife, I sent him a picture of this. Now, this is a boning knife that I made for myself, and it has orange G10 for the handles, and I used the blue for the liner. And if you look at that, what this reminded me of, and the reason I chose this color combo, is it reminds me of the old Howard Johnson's restaurants. If anybody can remember those, I certainly can. But this was their color scheme, and I liked it, and so I wanted a kitchen knife made with this. And Dillon apparently liked this because this is the exact combo that he's chosen for his ring. So that's what we're going to do. So what I'll do is I'll try to be to the point in this series, but Dillon requested a video series, and I want to show him all the steps that go into the making of his knife. Of course, we start with bar stock, raw bar stock here, and I just hit the camera, sorry. And then the first step is going to be cutting this to length, and then with any ring knife that has this large hole in the back, you know, we deal with that first, and we deal with that over on the mill. So that'll be one of the earliest steps after cutting it off, and then I'll just show you shots of every process that we take to turn all this raw stuff into a finished knife. And Dillon has chosen this new style sheath because it's slimline, and the way he described to me how he wanted to wear this knife and carry it, while this is a right-hand sheath, I suggested he use a left-hand sheath, though he is right-handed, just to suit the purpose of where he wants to put this knife on his belt. So that's what we're going to do. But here we go. All right, so this is the obvious first step, is to take this bar and cut it down to the proper length. So that's what we're doing here, and then we'll be back over on the bench to do some layout. Okay, so if there's anything that governs everything else on this knife, it's this large hole and the location of that large hole. So before we do any other layout, we want to create this. So this is just a 3/32 transfer punch. All right, now we're just going to make that transfer punch hole just a little more visible with a real center punch. Alright, now we're ready to go and spot this on the mill and make our large finger hole. Alright, so we just completed the cut, and that is the finish. Of course, there's a burr on this backside, but the hole itself is as nice a finish as I could get with a boring bar, which is why I switched to these. Alright, now I'm ready to get the rest of my holes in here, and to help me do that, I made this. This is just a guide I made, and I turned just the end of that down to 15/16, and it fits this hole I made really tightly. So I'm going to do that, and then I'll lay my pattern on there. Then we'll take that same transfer punch and go through, and what that does is just locates the center of everything, so I know my hole is where I intend it to be. And then I'm just going to clamp this down again, and then I'm going to go over to the drill press and drill all of these holes 41. These are going to be eventually bored out to half inch, or drilled out to half inch, and these are going to stay 41 to allow epoxy to get around the pins. Even though they're going to be 3/32 pins, 41 gives me a few more thousandths to get epoxy around everything for the handle scales and the blade. Alright, now I'm going to pop this pattern off of here, and I'm going to slow this machine way down for these 2 half-inch holes. Alright, I'm going to pilot these with a 9/32, and then I'll go back through with a half-inch. If I run that half-inch too fast, you just burn it up and ruin it. Alright, now we'll get the half-inch holes drilled, and this little stop is here just in case this bit wants to take the steel from me and twirl it around. It won't let it do that. I got plenty of oil on the bit. Okay, so what I've done is I've lined everything back up, and I've clamped it with a much stronger clamp. And I'm going to take it over there and I'm going to lock this in my vise, and then I'm going to take a scribe and just go around the perimeter nice and deep to transfer the outline, and then we'll move over to the bandsaw and cut away the excess. And I'm going to pop it out of this clamp. Done with that for a while. And now, I don't know if it'll show up on the video so much. I can see it fine in my shop lights. But now we have a nice, deep, defined profile that we can follow first on the bandsaw and then over on the belt grinder to get this thing profiled down into shape.